This just in about the uproar surrounding President Trump uninviting the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to the White House. A source close to the White House tells CNN that the president plans to continue to pound the NFL national anthem issue through the midterms, and that he is touting this issue, and has done before, as something that could help in November. He wants to keep this information and this fight in the bloodstream. The panel joins me now. Angela Ride, let me start with you. What do you make of this strategy by the president to keep this controversy going?
You know, Jake, I remember the first moment at a rally when Donald Trump called NFL players sons of bitches. It was clear that he was going to continue to use that moment. The crowd roared, and I think he knew in that instance that this was a good issue for his base. I think the unfortunate part of the president's transition into actually becoming the president is he hasn't yet realized that it's no longer a campaign rally. He actually has to govern. He actually has to be the commander-in-chief for folks who agree with him and who disagree with him. And instead of trying to figure out how to bring folks together, he continues to use issues like this, these red meat issues that flare tensions, that cause people to be enraged and to frustrate people who feel like they're invisible to them, including people who look like me, to just feel further disenfranchised. So it's extremely frustrating to watch, but it's absolutely not surprising.
Malcolm Jenkins, he's one of the Eagles captains, he's a starting safety. He said in a statement that he tweeted in part, quote, "Simply Google how many Philadelphia Eagles knelt during the national anthem last season, and you will find the answer is 0. Jenkins went on to say, quote, "The decision was made to lie and paint the picture that these players are anti-America, anti-flag, and anti-military." Here's White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders on this controversy just moments ago.
Look, if this wasn't a political stunt by the Eagles franchise, then they wouldn't have planned to attend the event and then backed out at the last minute. And if it wasn't a political stunt, then they wouldn't have attempted to reschedule the visit when they knew that the president was going to be overseas. And if this wasn't a political stunt, they wouldn't have waited until Monday, well after 1,000 of their fans had traveled and taken time out of their schedules to offer only a tiny handful of representatives to attend the event.
Kirsten?
So this is just the same thing that we see over and over, which is it's the politics of grievance, that Donald Trump is always peddling grievance, that he's been wronged by people, this whole thing about it being a political stunt, when in fact, maybe, it looks to me like they gave the names thinking that everyone was going to come, and then they found that there were some people that weren't going to come, and I think that some people have even articulated on your show today why, and it sounds very reasonable to me. And, to what Angela was saying, she's absolutely right that that's what the president should be doing. He should be speaking for everybody and bringing people together. But the way he won was by dividing, and the way he'll stay in power is by dividing. And that's why he does this. He does this to stoke grievance. And in this case, he's stoking grievance against black people, which is what he does. He stokes grievance against, black people, non-white people, anybody that his voters are threatened by. And they've been lying about this since the very beginning. This isn't just disrespecting the flag. This is something to protest a real problem in the country, which is police brutality against African Americans, and they did it in the most respectful manner that they possibly could. They actually went out of their way to be respectful.
So I will say this, Josh. I know people who are on both sides of this issue, and I know that there are people, especially people who have lost loved ones in war, who feel like the national anthem is a period, 3 minutes, 12 times a year, when the country honors their loved ones. Now, maybe that's not what most people are thinking about, but in their view, it is, and they do feel disrespected and dishonored. How would you have recommended that President Trump treat this issue in the last day, after he finds out that very few Eagles want to come?
Well, look, I think it's a pretty serious charge to say that the president is deliberately stoking racial tensions here. I think that he has a well-articulated position on standing during the national anthem, of which I will note, and you'd correctly noted, does not pertain to the Philadelphia Eagles. What does pertain to the Philadelphia Eagles is that they chose not to come to the White House, which I think is very unfortunate. And we all have our hot takes on whose fault that is. Is it Trump's fault? Is it the Eagles' fault? I think that probably only exacerbates the problem. The real problem is here that we can no longer celebrate achievement without injecting our partisan view of whether or not we agree with the guy who's given us the trophy. So if we can't, I saw LeBron James say this afternoon that no matter whether the Cavaliers or the Golden State Warriors win the NBA Finals, neither of them are coming. If that's where we're at in our society, you ought to cancel the whole thing altogether, because we will never have a ceremony that is an endorsement of the sitting president of the United States. It's not what it means. It's just
Angela?
a celebration of achievement.
Angela, I want you to weigh in.
Yeah, I first, it's just dishonest, right? This isn't about people who disagree with the partisan leanings of the president. There are Republicans who are my friends. This is about someone who has trafficked in bigotry, xenophobia, and racism from the very beginning of his campaign. Everybody has a right to say, you know what, I disagree with you, and I especially disagree with how you carry yourself as a leader. I have yet to see you demonstrate real leadership. This is not about the national anthem. That's the side issue. The real issue is Donald Trump's issue with crowd size. This crowd would be the same size as his inauguration, and that's what he's really frustrated about. Let's be really, really honest here. That's what he can't handle, the ego blow. Instead of having people around him that are not yes men and yes women and yes people, he has people that continue to lie on his behalf. The Eagles didn't volunteer not to go. They uninvited the Eagles. That's the issue. This is all about his ego, and we're going to now end up in a midterm where we're talking about the national anthem. The national anthem is problematic in and of itself. There's a second verse that Colin Kaepernick brought attention to that has yet to be discussed on broad platforms. In addition to that, people have every right to go through the practices of practicing free speech. I didn't mean to say practice twice. But the bottom line is we have the opportunity to say, this is something that's bothering me. Until this country serves me the same way that it serves so many other people, I have a right to protest. And you should pay attention to what those issues are if you're a real leader.
All right, we have to take a quick break.